The main form page is your primary interface with CookBookPlus on the web. You must be working in the main form in order to access other application pages as defined by these command buttons. When the form first opens, it will display all your private meals, all your private recipes, and designated public recipes. To improve page performance, the initial set of your meal records is normally restricted to the current date and the preceding 7 days. However, for purposes of this tutorial, the current date range covers 2 months. These 4 drop-down controls paired with an associated command button are used to navigate to records within the currently available record set. This drop-down control is used to select a meal record by date. If we open the drop-down control, we can see all the meals that were recorded within the date range currently specified in the date range text boxes. To change the meal records that are included in your record set, make a change to the dates in these 2 text boxes. For example, let's change the start date to August 1st. After changing the date and assuming we're going to use the same ending date August 31, click the Set New Date command button. Now, if we open the drop-down and use the slider, we'll see that the included meals only cover the dates August 1st through August 31st. If you want to return the date ranges to the default period of the current date and the preceding 7 days, just click the Default Date command button. The main form page is organized into several distinct sections. The 3 sections outlined in red here are associated with the main controls that are used to add, edit, and delete recipe and meal records, as well as to navigate among the recipe and meal records. The controls located within these 2 red areas are associated with adding editing and deleting recipe or meal line item ingredients and with navigating among those line item ingredients. These controls are associated with the nutritional content of the recipe or meal record. And when viewing a meal record, these controls represent the daily calories snapshot report. Many of the command buttons and text boxes associated with the main form page have associated tooltips. If you hover the mouse over the command button, the tooltip will display. Another example of this is the healthy factor icon. Its tooltip will display the percent of calories from fat that it represents. Generally speaking, the functionality of a control or a text box can be discerned by looking at its description, or the tooltip associated with it. There are too many tooltips associated with this main form page to describe in this video. Take some time and try to explore the entire page to get a feel for what tooltips are available. Detailed information about the functionality of all the controls on the main form page will be covered in subsequent sections of this video series. To navigate to a recipe based on the recipe's name, use this drop-down control and command button pair. First, select a recipe in the drop-down. For this example, we'll navigate to oysters, Bellingham. Then click the command button. To navigate to a recipe based on the category of the recipe, use this drop-down control command button pair. Open the drop-down and select your recipe. We'll go to minestrone soup and click the command button. To navigate to a recipe based on an ingredient used within the recipe, use this drop-down control command button pair. First, select the ingredient. For this example, we'll look for a recipe that uses navy beans. We'll look under Beans, Navy, and we'll select it. Then click the command button. To navigate to a meal based upon the date the meal was recorded, use this drop-down control command button pair. First select the meal, then click the command button. Use these controls to sequentially navigate your recipe and meal records. This text box control indicates the current number of recipe and meal records within the record set. This text box indicates the record number within the total number of records we're currently viewing. To navigate to the last record, click this command button. To navigate to the previous record, click this command button. To navigate to the first record, click this command button. To navigate to the next record, click this command button. To navigate directly to a record based on its location in the list, enter its order number directly in this text box, then click the record number command button. To navigate directly to the last meal entered, click the Last Meal command button. Navigating between recipe and meal records will change the layout of the main form page in this area. When viewing a meal record, the daily calories snapshot report is displayed. When viewing a recipe record, controls for the recipe source, the number served tier, the recipe serving size quantity, and the recipe serving size measure are displayed. To navigate to a line item ingredient based on its order in the list, use this drop-down control. For example, we'll navigate to the bluefish ingredient, which is 5th in the list. I'll open the drop-down. Select number 5. After the page refreshes, you can see that the bluefish line item ingredient is now highlighted. Use these controls to sequentially navigate the line item ingredients. Click this command button to navigate to the preceding record. Click this command button to navigate to the first record. Click this command button to navigate to the next record. Click this command button to navigate to the last record. To navigate to an ingredient based on this order in the list, enter the order number in this text box, then click the command button line item record number. To create a new meal record, click the command button. Start a new meal. Describe the meal by entering values in these 4 controls. The date text box is pre-populated with the current date. You can change this if desired. Define the meal's food category. You can use this drop-down to make a selection. We'll leave this at breakfast. If you want, you can give the meal a descriptive title. When the record is created, the date value and the food category value will be added to the meal's description. If you do not add a description, just the date and food category values will appear. You can also add any optional description information in this large text box. To create the record, click the command button, Add Meal. Next, we'll use these controls to enter the items that were consumed in the meal. These controls are used to specify and enter the items that will show in the line item list. These 2 fields will initially display the first item in their respective dropdowns. In the case of the description dropdown, the large one, the first item in that list is a blank ingredient. In the case of the quantity dropdown, the starting quantity in that list is -3. The recommended technique is to first select the item in the dropdown, then specify the quantity of the item. You can add an optional comment, and the last step is to click the command button, Add as New Line Item. The first ingredient will be 3 large eggs. We'll open the dropdown, use E to find where the eggs start, and I'll use the down arrow to find a large. Each enter key makes that selection. Then in the quantity dropdown, I'm going to pick the value 3. I don't need to enter any comment, and I'm simply going to click the command button Add as New Line Item. Using the same technique, I'm going to add a little bit of milk, so open the drop-down Emale. Then I'll use the page down to look for milk, and I'm going to use 2% milk. And for a quantity, I'm going to use about 1/4 cup of that milk. Add as New Line Item. Next, I'll add my bread, and this will be Pepperidge Farm soft oatmeal. We'll select that. And we're going to make this 2 slices, so I need to find the 2. There it is. Add as New Line Item. The next ingredient is going to be some blueberries, and there they are. We have some fresh blueberries by the cup, and I'm going to consume 1/2 cup of fresh blueberries. For this breakfast, add as New Line Item. I'll also have some maple syrup, so we'll open the drop-down, and we'll look for maple syrup, and we're going to have by the tablespoon. I'm going to consume 2 tablespoons of maple syrup on this French toast. Add as New Line Item. And we're going to have some butter in this because I'm going to cook the bread in butter, so we'll open this up and look for butter. There's butter down there, so we'll go down, and we're going to go perhaps use 2 tablespoons of butter. It's already selected as 2, so we'll add that. Finally, I'm going to have some coffee with the breakfast, so we'll open the drop-down, look for coffee. It's down the bottom, and I have the ingredient already pre-made here for coffee with cream by the mug. I'll select that, and I will drink 4 mugs of coffee with the breakfast. Add. I want to point out that after we entered the first line item, 2 additional command buttons appeared. One will let you delete a selected line item, the other will let you. Also note that the last line item entered is now highlighted in the list. Finally, as each line item was entered in the list, the nutritional content of the meal was updated in these controls. Also, the daily calorie snapshot report was updated in this area as we entered each line item. If you need help locating an ingredient to use in a recipe or meal, you can filter for the ingredient using these 2 controls. First, in this text box, type the keyword you'd like to find. For this example, our search phrase will be pie. Then, click the Filter for Command button. Note the appearance of the new command button pick selected. Also, note the message at the top of the screen. After the page refreshes, if you open the Select an Ingredient drop-down, the only ingredients listed will be those that contain the characters PIE or pie. You can select one of these. I'll select Blueberry Commercial. And if you want to use that to add as a new ingredient, click Pick Selected. Now that that ingredient is in this drop-down, you can do a normal entry. We'll say we want 1 slice of this pie and click Add his new line item. So now we've used the keyword to search for an ingredient and then add it to our list. I'm going to go ahead and delete the selected ingredient because I really don't want it in my breakfast. You can modify a listed line item ingredient at any time. To proceed first, click the Allow Line Item Changes command button, then use this drop-down to select the item you want to modify. We're going to change the coffee ingredient, which is number 7. We're going to change it from 4 to 6. So, with the ingredient selected, we'll change the drop-down to 6, then we'll click the Update Selected line item. Now, the coffee shows that we had 6 mugs of that. You can also change the order that the line item appears in the list. Currently, coffee is last. To move it up, it must be selected, and then you use this up arrow. I'll click it once, and it's moved up on the list. Again, as long as the item is selected, we can move it down using this command button. If I try to move the coffee down from this position, click the command button, note the message at the top of the screen. To delete a currently selected line item, use this command button. Note the tooltip. There is no undo for this process. To proceed, click the button. The coffee item has been deleted, and note that the selected item is now the first item in the list. Whenever you make changes to line items like we've just been doing, they are automatically saved to the record set. You can click the Reset Record command button to command a manual save, and to return this form to its non-data entry mode, I'll click the button, and we've been returned to the same record but not in data entry mode. Note that the selected line item number 1 on the list is highlighted in blue. Blue highlighting indicates that the line item is not in data entry mode. To return the list to data entry mode, click the command button, Allow Line Item Changes. To make a change to any part of the record, enter section. Click the command button, Update this record, enter your change in the salmon-colored fields. I'll change the text in the description. To commit the change, click the Update this record a second time. To delete the currently viewed record in its entirety, click the command button, Delete this record, note the message at the top of the screen. Also, if you hold the mouse over the button, note the tooltip. There's no undo for this action. To proceed, click the Delete this record button a second time. That record has been deleted, and you've been returned to the first record in your record set. To create a new recipe record, click the command button, Start a new recipe. Define the recipe by filling out information in the salmon-colored fields. The current date is entered in the Date field by default. You can change this if you'd like. For this example, we'll create a chicken food category recipe. Note that the source field specifies the current user. This cannot be changed. Next, define the number served by the recipe. We'll say this recipe will serve 8 people, and I'll tab to go to the next field. For this example, we'll say that this recipe will serve 8 people 2 cups. So we'll open this drop-down and pick the value 2. Then we'll open this drop-down, scroll up, and pick the value cup. We can now enter a name for the recipe. Then we'll add our preparation instructions. After adding the preparation instructions, save the recipe by clicking the Add Recipe command button. Next, add the line item ingredients. I'll do this off camera. After all the line items have been added, click the Reset Record command button to take the recipe out of data entry mode. We need to contemplate the number served by this recipe against the volume that these ingredients will actually create. After thinking about it and maybe measuring things out, we figure that instead of having 16 cups of chicken, that's 8 times 2, we only have 10. So, we're going to change the number served from 8 to 5. So, what we'll do is we'll click the Update this record command button. We'll change the number served from 8 to 5 arv. Then we'll click the Update this record command button again. The nutritional information in this area indicates that a single serving of this recipe, that is 1/5 of everything, is 472 calories. Since a single serving is 2 cups, 1 cup of this is half this value. You can easily create a food item ingredient out of this recipe by clicking the Create Ingredient command button. Note that we have 2 new command buttons available. Let's click the View Ingredient command button. This is our new ingredient. The ingredient's name is based on the recipe's name, which includes the recipe's unique ID number and the date it was created on. Also note that the ingredient is measured by the cup, so a single serving would be 2 cups of this ingredient. Let's return to the main form. The Update Ingredient command button is used to update an ingredient made from this recipe. Should the recipe be changed for some reason? Let's change the amount of chicken in the recipe from 32 ounces, or 2 pounds, to 48 ounces, which will be 3 pounds. To do that, we currently have the chicken highlighted, so we'll click the Allow Line Item Changes. Then we'll change the quantity from 32 to 48. We'll update it by clicking the Update Selected line item. Keep an eye on the nutritional value information. See how it changed. If we navigate and just view our old ingredient, and you do the math of multiplying, this value by 2 it's no longer correct will go back to the main form. To update the ingredient, we click this command button. Note the warning at the top of the screen. Are we sure we want to update it? We armed, so we're going to click the Update Ingredient command button a second time. Now, if we go back and view the ingredient again, you can see that the total calories value is half the single serving value, which is this value here. On further reflection, we realized that after adding more chicken breast and cooking them down, we now have more volume in the recipe. Specifically, we estimate that we picked up another 2 cups of chicken. So we need to change the number served again from 5 to 6. So to do that, we'll click the Update this record command button. We'll change the number from 5 to 6 to take care of the 2 extra cups, and we'll commit the change. This changes the value of calories per serving, which means we need to update the ingredient again, so we'll click the command button, and we'll click it a second time to commit. Once again, if we keep the calories per serving in mind, we go view the ingredient we can see that this value is now half of what it is on the recipe. So we'll go back to the main form, and we're good to go. Let's enter a new meal and use 1 serving of our chicken recipe example. We'll click the Start a New Meal command button. We'll set this up as a supper meal, and we'll call this Chicken Dinner. And we'll add the meal record. Now in the line item ingredients, we're going to select the new ingredient we created when we did the recipe. So it's chicken, and we'll page down. And I think it was chicken recipe example made on 8/30, so we'll select that. And we're going to have 2 cups of that because 2 cups is 1 serving, and we'll click the Add as New Line Item. So by creating an ingredient from the entire recipe and using that to do the meal, we greatly simplified the amount of data entry needed to record what we ate for this supper. Let's navigate back to the recipe. Chicken recipe example. There are 2 record types in CookBookPlus on the web: private records and public records. By default, every new record created by a user is a private record. It cannot be viewed by anyone other than the user. However, the CookBookPlus on the Web Systems Administrator can specify that certain private records be publicly viewable. This is often used in the case where recipes are to be shared among users, and commonly used values for quantities, measures, and food categories would be best served by sharing among users. The currently viewed recipe was created by the current user. Accordingly, this is still a private recipe record. When working with a private record, you will have a Delete this record command button, an Update this record command button, and if the record was turned into a food item ingredient, an Update ingredient command button. This recipe record was created by the current user, but it has been designated a publicly viewable recipe by the systems administrator. Because this is a public recipe, the Delete this record command button is not available. However, because the current user is the creator of the record, the Update this record command button is still available, as is the Update ingredient command button. This recipe record is a publicly viewable recipe, but it was not created by the current user. Accordingly, the Delete this record command button, the Update this record command button, and the Update ingredient command button are not available to the current user. To email a printable version of the currently viewed recipe, click the command button Email. The current user's email address is displayed by default. This was the value entered in the user's user profile. To send to a different recipient, just change the email address. You can optionally include a message to go with the recipe. To send the email, click the Email command button a second time. Note the confirmation message at the top of the screen. The recipe will arrive as the subject matter of the email. Note that the email included the nutrition information. The same procedure works if you're looking at a meal record. However, the notification at the top of the screen of a successful email set will be slightly different. I've navigated back to the example chicken recipe. I'm going to click the Allow Line Item Changes command button. This puts the record in data entry mode. Note the command button Reset Record. The primary function of this command button is to take the currently displayed recipe or meal record out of record and data entry mode, and you find some of the data entry changes you're making are incorrect. You can usually recover by clicking the Reset command button. I'll click it. This will restore the record to its original status. The Reset button can also help you recover from a server error, should one occur. Let's place the record back into Allow Line Item Changes. And we're going to make an entry into 1-inch chunks, and we're to put apostrophe s there. You cannot use apostrophes in CookBookPlus on the web. Now, if I click the command button Update Selected Line Item, note we get a server error. I use the back button on the browser, and then noting that we still see the apostrophe S, use the Reset Record command button. The record has been returned to its original state, noting that 1-inch chunks now no longer shows the apostrophe S. The Reset Form command button performs the same functions as the Reset Record command button, except after you click the command button, you will be returned to the first record in your record set. Meals logged in CookBookPlus on the web can be exported in the form of an XML attachment to an email, and those meals subsequently imported into CookBookPlus desktop. To export a day's meals, be sure you are looking at a meal that was logged on the date you are interested in, and then click the Email Meals command button. Normally, meals are emailed to the current user's email address, but you could change this. You can also enter any comments if you're interested. When ready to email the meals, click the Email Meals command button a second time. Note the confirmation message at the top of the screen. When the email arrives, save the attachment to your local hard drive, then use the Import Web Meals function in CookBookPlus desktop.